able to come back to my old school and speak to young entrepreneurs, because I was sitting in the same chairs that you were not too long ago. So hopefully, if you get anything out of this, maybe a little bit of inspiration or motivation to pursue whatever your dreams may be. So my story begins in Blanco, a small town about 1,500 people. It's not too far from here, about 30 minutes west. That's where my family moved when I was 8 years old. I was raised Muslim, hence the name Muhammad, until I was 10 years old. At the age of 10, my father left to take a job in Atlanta and never came back. My mother had every reason to give up, but she pressed forward, driving around 2.5 hours a day to work as a secretary to make sure that she could keep a roof and put food on the table for me and my 3 siblings. At a young age, I developed a passion for sports and fitness. By the time I was 18, I amassed all-state recognitions for multiple sports, and I even led my football team to an undefeated season in a state championship in 2001. Although it seemed that the chips were stacked against me, I never used it as an excuse, but rather as a catalyst. I had a knack for always putting in as much effort as I needed to be the best at anything that I tried. Following high school graduation, I moved to Wheaton, Illinois to pursue my dream of playing college football, and did so for 3 years. I left Wheaton after 3 years and moved back to Texas, where I hopped around from school to school until I landed here at Texas State University, seeking a degree in business management. I began my training career the summer after my freshman year of college. My best friend and I had an idea to start a workout program for our old high school and middle school kids. We continued the program for 5 summers and trained over 800 athletes in that time. I knew then that I not only had a passion for motivating others, but I also had the skill for putting a business together. I furthered my career in training my senior year here at Texas State when I took a job at as a personal trainer at a local health club. After 9 months, I was fired from my job after standing up to the manager for how he was treating the only female trainer that we had. I had also just walked at graduation, but I was a credit short from actually graduating. I was kind of backed into a corner, and I decided instead of going back to finish my degree that I would take the $4,000 that I had in savings and put it into building out a training facility in my house that I was currently renting. I decided that day that I was tired of all the corporate politics and, excuse me, but all the bullshit that most gyms are involved with. I was determined to cut out all of that and just do straight training. And that's how I developed the name Straight Training. I convinced 4 of my clients to come with me, and that was the moment my business came to life. The next 10 months, I was able to build my clientele through word of mouth and incorporate my business in 2010. I moved my business into a corporate building right off the and took on a partner to split the rent. After 2 years, my partner decided that training wasn't for him, and he left me with all the extra costs that were incurred. The last years have been filled with many failures and successes. The one situation that put me on the brink of complete failure was when my girlfriend of 9 months committed suicide after we decided to break up. That put me at my lowest point in my life. That was another moment in time when I could have given up, but instead I found strength in my work and guidance in the books that I was reading. I decided that in order to be successful, I would have to put all of my energy and focus into helping as many people as I possibly can to reach their full potential. In 2013, I was living in my gym, showering in my sink, but instead of feeling sorry for myself, I used that time to build myself mentally. I went from being negative in my bank account to currently owning and operating a business that was voted best health club in Hays County in 2014. I now have 4 exceptional trainers on staff and my fiance who manages and markets for our company. She was my missing link and expedited the company faster than I could ever imagine. I went from that negative in my account to grossing over $100,000 last year, from 4 clients to over 100. And we gained our first investor and are now working on our second location and opening its doors April of this year. So that's pretty much my story. There's obviously a lot more that goes along through the road of entrepreneurship, but that would probably take a full volume book. So next, I kind of want to just talk to you guys about what I think it takes to be, an entrepreneur, and some of the characteristics that you can find in most of the ones who have made it thus far. Number 1, you have to have passion. And you'll hear that come out of the mouths of entrepreneurs over and over and over, and that's probably the most important characteristic that an entrepreneur can have is passion. To me, passion is an emotion that drives you to your ultimate desires. And my passion is to help as many people as possible to reach their full potential. Number 2, you must be changeable. You must be able to adapt in any situation and assimilate characteristics of other successful people that have come before you. Number 3, you must have confidence. You must have a belief in yourself that is unwavering. And you must always know that no matter what, you'll be able to find a solution to any problem. Number 4, you must have creativity, or the capacity to see things differently than others. Number 5, you must have competence. That just means, you must have a skill in the business that you're trying, to start, or it's probably not going to be successful. And if you don't have that skill, find someone else that does. Number 6, you need to be curious. And by curious, I mean you need to accept that you don't know everything and always be willing to learn from others. Number 7, you must be committed. An example of commitment, you can just think back to multiple times in your life, whether it was sports or being in school when you had an assignment. You committed time and effort so that you could see the end result, and that to me is delayed gratification. Those things are pretty much synonymous. Number 7, you must be Number 8, you need to find a mentor. Finding a mentor will help you cut down the time that it takes to be successful. Most people think of mentors. They think of having direct contact with someone, but you can find mentorship in books, biographies, reading on other people, who have been in the same situation that you have. So in closing, I just want to thank you guys for having me here today, share my story, and being able to give back to young entrepreneurs. Being able to give back to you guys definitely solidifies, for me, what it means to be a successful entrepreneur. So thank you. If y'all have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
You said you worked out of a building on the square. Which building was that?
It was over, where the food trailers are?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right across the street from that.
It
had a huge mural on the side.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
We just recently moved in over off of Hunter Road.
All right, cool.
Aside from the actual training and fitness aspect of your business, what course do you feel like stood out the most in your education as far as utilizing the skills you learned in that?
I actually wanted to hit on the fact that I took Dr. Bell's class when I was here, and said it a minute ago, but I could have taken just his class and graduated and been okay. Like that class right there, just because they brought in speakers. I think Peter Holt came in and talked, and it was super inspiring. And inspiration is the thing that will really drive you to be successful in whatever you're doing. But definitely, entrepreneurship classes are definitely what you're going to want to look into for this.
What have you noticed improved membership, and what do you think was like a major waste of time? Because we kind of have a similar thing along with this organization about recruiting people that something that's good for them, but they don't kind of know it yet. It's a challenge.
Our biggest marketing has been word of mouth. Yeah, that's always, well, to me, for a small business, that'd be your capacity pretty much. If you don't have a lot of money to throw into tricking people into buying your product, then you're definitely going to have to give people the results that they want. You know what I'm saying? So basically, if someone's successful, if you help someone to become successful, they'll probably tell a few people. If you train somebody and they're not successful, they're going to tell 10 people. So you better give people the results. So I would definitely look to your peers and promote finding out, because everyone's going to have a different perspective on, what this class means to them. So I'll definitely go through the one and maybe get them to tell you what it is that drew them to this class.
I have two questions. One, what books did you read that helped you? And thanks for being so honest. I mean, most people wouldn't stand up there and lay everything out there. I just respect you a great deal. Jordan, you're putting that packet together, okay, and you're going to go to an entrepreneur or somebody, CEO, and they're going to go, the heck's that? Now, what would it take for a college student to, first of all, if we mailed it to you or sent it electronically, would it work?
No.
Okay. So you literally have to, it's got to be face-to-face, And would a piece of paper or, you know, a little packet, would that sell you, or what would sell you? Because what I'm trying to do is, if you all want that, and it's only $100. You'll piss that away in an afternoon. But what it really is experience. Because if you said, I wrote a marketing campaign for an organization that raised $5,000. It's tax-free. By the way, it's taxable. You know, this organization is a not-for-profit. So if you give to CEO, you may write that right off your income. And isn't that important?
That right there is one thing that would probably sell me.
Okay.
You know?
So so I'll stop now.
And I think most, you know, at least for me, most entrepreneurs or, you know, CEOs of companies, they want to help. You know what I'm saying? If they're really in it for, you know, if they're really driven by passion, then they're going to want to help, you know, others that are seeking to do the same thing. But definitely putting together something, or actually showing me what you've already done would help. What does your company do? Or what does your organization do? What have you done in the past? You know, so that's going to help.
And what are you going to use money for?
Yes, exactly.
A bash. No.
And then coming with confidence. That's going to be super important. Some of the books I read, and Tony Robbins is one that, you know, I think it's Ultimate Power. I've read a few of his. Recently, or a couple years ago, I read Tribal Leadership. And I think that's one that would be really, really great for you guys to read. Write that down, because that's one that... Tribal Leadership. Tribal Leadership. And then, you know, just different books on philosophy, money management, self-help, really anything you can get your hands on, because I feel like, you know, books are power. I feel like we're in the matrix, and if you want to hook yourself up to that outlet that's going to give you everything you need to read the books. All right.
And just the last thing I'll say is, I think you have a good partner.
Yes.
Because that is super important. This is a partner for life. The other one is, you know, I don't want to do this business anymore, so I'm leaving you with the bills.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. And, you know, Emily graduated from here, too, with the
ComDes, communication design.
So it kind of worked out perfectly.
Super.
And not only was she beautiful, but she's smarter than I am, so I knew I had to marry her.
Just on y'all's like relationship and working with someone like that in your business, does it ever, like, if y'all argue about something about the business, does it affect like the relationship outside of it?
It did at first, but we are very fortunate that we can work and live together and everything works well. But it is you just hate a lot. So just with any other relationship, we just have to talk about it. And I mean, if there's ever an issue, we stomp it right away and we move on.
I basically do whatever she's told.
No.
But yeah, it's definitely about communication. It's definitely about communication. Like, as soon as, you know, emotions always try and get in the way of any situation you're in. So most of the time, we'll take a time out and we'll sit there and we'll talk about how we're feeling and go through that whole process. If you're willing to do that, then you can make it work pretty easy.
But even like if it wasn't, we weren't, you know, in a relationship, I think that's super important with a business partner. If you don't communicate, there's going to be things that you don't agree about, and you have to just, if you know that you're going to make it work and you're going to make the business successful, you have to just, you know, communicate through it, or it will never work. So.
Or the officer corps, or our whole
Yes.
organization.
Yes.
You talked about some of the failures and successes that you had. Was those failures and successes just 24 hours straight, or was that with like other businesses or corporations that you tried to start?
Well, I mean, Str8 Training was I started my athletic training companies when I was 19, but that was just a summer, during the summers. I did that consecutively for 5 years. But we left on a good note. We just didn't have time to go back and do it anymore because we were trying to start our lives. As far as like Str8 Training, this is my first business, and I don't like to say lucky because I don't believe in luck, but I'm very fortunate to have had this much success in such a short period of time, because you always hear about, you know, Bill Gates or whoever it is failed, you know, 20, 30 times at their businesses before they were successful. And obviously, I'm not a billionaire yet, but you know, I'm working my way there. I actually did start an airbrush tanning company that's kind of here and there, but it never kind of unfolded. But I didn't invest my entire self into it. So, and when we talk about failures and success, you have to understand that I don't really like to say the word failures either, because it's just a learning experience. You know, I see it more as an experiment. You know, every single time we go through a situation, it's more like an experiment. Did it work? No, it didn't. All right, here, let's go back to the drawing board.
And that can be super scary at first, because when I first joined him, if I did something and nobody bid on it, I got really upset. You know, it didn't work. I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. But, you know, it just takes time, and you keep doing it until, you know, okay, that didn't work. I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay, this worked last year. We'll do it again. So,
and that's one of the main things is like there's a lot of ambiguity in, you know, what's going to happen, you know, 2 months from now, 3 months, 3 years, whatever it is. And most of the time people quit because they're scared or they're in fear. As soon as you can trump fear, you're on your way. That's the ultimate right there.
When you first started out, did you see more of your costs in licensing, or was it equipment, or was it staff?
My initial cost is probably just equipment. And that's the cool thing, it's a service, so there's not a ton of overhead for what I do. It was really just being skilled, having that skill set of, you know, being able to motivate people and train them correctly to see, you know, results in a short period of time, so they'll stay motivated. So yeah.
And you had to go get licensed for the personal training.
I've never gotten certified. I'm more of a self-taught person, but I went through extensive training myself through, you know, high school and then into college programs, collegiate programs, and then, you know, reading and trying things on myself before I did that with my clients. So.
Having a business in a demographic where it's mostly college students, how do you appeal to people to come when they have like the rec or gyms at their apartments? Do you find that you have to work with people at an older age? Or
Actually, what kept me in business for probably the first 2 to 3 years was sororities. One of my clients that followed me to my house, she was the president of API, and so I would go speak at their organization, and they started coming in, and then I would go speak, and then I started speaking at other sororities, and we still have a good relationship with a lot of the sororities. So I think straight training is a little bit different just because it's a smaller field, it's more of a community, and it takes away like a lot of the corporate nonsense that goes on. When I was working at the corporate gym, it felt more like a high school than a place for you to go and get healthy. So, like, our marketing wasn't on point until Emily came in, but we were able to sell people instantly when they came in and they saw like a camaraderie between, you know, our employees, our clients, and then that community feel that they had. But we did branch out, like we had students first, and now we're branching out into the other part of the demographic in San Marcos, so it's kind of balancing itself out.
and one thing too, because when I was in college, I felt the same way about San Marcos. I had a professor say something about, you know, there are locals in this town, and they honestly don't really like the students very much. And that hit me. I was like, there are, you know, I just never really thought about it because you're so absorbed in school. You go to school, you see your classmates, you go home, you study. You know, you don't really see the rest of the city, but there really is a flourishing community of locals that we finally have tapped into in the last year, and it has just, you know, grown because students are amazing, but you guys are a little bit seasonal. Like you move, you know, and things like that. So for our business, we knew if we were going to grow, we had to tap into the locals. So that was a struggle. But you'll see when, you know, and us staying in San Marcos after graduating kind of, you know, opened my eyes to that local community. You kind of forget when you're in this little bubble.
How many years would you say you have been officially running your own training business?
I incorporated in 2010.
Okay, so 4 years, or roughly.
Roughly.
What makes, now that you say you've been in business 4 years and you've even started to branch out into another business, what are some of the things that make you nervous now, and how have those changed since you had first started back in 2010?
I was nervous to come speak to you guys. I don't really get nervous anymore. It was more at the beginning. But since I've been through so many, tribulations going to get to where I am now, it's easy to calm those nerves very quickly. What would I mean for
What were some of the things that made you really nervous when you first started?
if I was going to be successful, if I was going to fail? You're constantly thinking like, oh man, I hope I don't fail. Oh, I hope I don't fail. And then you're taking time away from, you could be thinking about what do I need to do next to get myself to this point. You know what I'm saying? So it was just that initial, fear of failure that caused me to grow at a slower rate than I am now. I would say. So I took less risks at the beginning for fear of failure. Now I take more calculated risks and with hopes that I'll be successful.
Was the boot camp your first business that you started?
What do you mean?
Did you do anything before that to make money, other than working?
Oh, I've worked probably 15 different jobs in 10 different industries since I was 14.
Oh no, but your first business, because I know you started the whole boot camp with high school.
Oh, the athletic? No, that was my first actual business that I started when I was 19.
Okay, and then what steps did you take to actually make that